I am Jeff Foxworthy, and welcome to Gamekeeper Podcast. If you want to learn more about farming for wildlife and habitat management, then, buddy, you are in the right place. Join the Gamekeeper crew direct from Mossy Oak Land Enhancement Studio as they discuss the latest wildlife and habitat management practices, news, and, of course, hunting. There's no telling what you'll learn, but I'm going to tell you, I bet it's interesting. Enjoy.
We're live for the second time in 3, 2, 1.
There we go. Yeah.
All right.
Finally, that clock starts working. So I'm looking around the room. I'm just really excited to talk to our guests. But I'm looking. Let me set the table. We got Lanny here. It's kind of the middle of deer season. Everybody's a little tired.
A little before the rut. Though,
Yeah,
so
rut's just now kind of.
Yeah.
Yes, fix the break wide open here. So I'm glad we're talking about big deer.
Yeah.
It's on the brain.
Dudley's here. You've been sighting in, working on a rifle for us.
Yeah.
How's that thing shooting?
We've been shooting this Nosler Model 21.
I just shot it myself.
You know, used to the cool thing was to get all these, get a custom rifle, and Nosler has made that a lot easier. So they're using a lot of the components of a custom rifle system like that. It's got a threaded barrel. It's got a really fancy smooth bolt on it, and they've got a sub MOA guarantee, I believe. But yeah, we've been shooting that thing and cleaning it in between shots, and those groups are getting smaller and smaller. I think I'm on shot like 31 now.
Okay.
So
it's
breaking. I've never tried to break a barrel in before, but I figured this gun was worth it.
Yeah. Okay. Good. I'm glad you're doing that.
It's fun.
So, Lanny, we've got Jackson from Birmingham, our intern.
Our intern. There he is.
Here working. So we're excited about that. Richie's running the board over there. He's not smiling much, but
he should blow the horns for himself.
The price is wrong.
No, there it is.
Yeah.
All right. So through the magic of the internet, we've got a guy from Central Alabama named Hunter Smith. And this guy makes his he manages land, manages property. He is a well-known, celebrated
Gamekeeper, sounds
hunter.
like, yeah.
He is a gamekeeper.
Yeah.
He's a celebrated hunter from that part of the world, and he killed a giant buck.
That's what I understand. I
It's
can't
huge.
wait to hear the story.
Hunter, welcome to our podcast.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
Yeah, well, we're glad to have you. We want to hear the story, but before we get all this started, and you're welcome to chime in here, we always talk about blood on the biologic.
Yes, we do.
And look, I'll start the thing off. There's a guy that works here. We don't see him very often because he's out there in Texas a lot. Andy Euler.
Oh, he's killed a couple good
He
bucks.
has two giant, one in Illinois and I think one in Texas.
Yes.
Yeah, congrats, Andy. And I'll go ahead. I got one more. Sawyer Stiglet, first deer. It was a doe, but it was just a great picture. We love seeing the kids. What you got, Lanny?
Well, I got actually a guy that I went to college with at Mississippi State. Hung out with a lot, hunted with a little bit, and we kind of lost touch after we got graduated. Anyways, kind of reconnected with him recently. He actually ended up raising his family in Utah, but then his son went back to school in Tennessee, where they're from. His name's Robert True, and his son is Jackson True. So, of course, Jackson, getting back to his roots, picked up hunting really quick. And so he's been texting me about turkey season and deer season. Anyways, he's out there, kind of soloing it, and he connected on his first buck this week. So knocked him on down. So Jackson True, congratulations.
That's good. You got somebody, Dudley?
Excellent. Yeah. Not a long story, but my buddy Cody Clemens up in Arkansas, kind of sort of near Stuttgart, arrowed a really good looking buck last week. So congrats, Cody.
That is good. Congratulations. Hunter, you know anybody recently just killed their first deer? We always like giving shout outs.
Trying to think of first deer. Had a lot of buddies kill some good deer lately, but nobody really their first deer yet. I'm hoping to get my little boy's first deer this year, but we'll see.
Yeah. Oh, that's
He's
so
been
much
a few
fun.
times, but hadn't found the right one.
Yeah. Well, we don't always do first deer, but we always like to. We got
I got a guest in town this after his first deer this afternoon. So Dirk. We're looking forward to. He actually went out and shot.
10 years old.
10 years old.
Traveled all the way from the West Coast.
Yes, to come here and deer hunt with his dad. So we're super excited to have him
Yeah,
here.
you said he was doing a good job at the range.
We nicknamed him Deadeye. I mean, you got to be you get the
Deadeye
name
Dirk.
Deadeye Dirk. You got to be, you got to be tuned in. So, super excited for Dirk. He'll be hunting the next couple of days, and hopefully he can have harvest his first deer. So, and where he's from, they won't even allow him to hunt till they're 12. So
Boom.
he's 10. he said he's going to try to get ahead of his buddies. You know what I mean?
Well, he's going to get some street cred.
Yeah,
when
he
gets
sure
home,
is,
for
so.
sure. All right, let's turn our attention to Hunter. We're looking at a picture of this deer.
Oh my goodness! First of all,
Okay, so tell us a little bit about yourself, Hunter, and then let's go into understanding this deer and how you reacted when you first saw him.
I'm from Montgomery, outside of Montgomery, Pike Road, Alabama. Matthews, actually. But grew up here, actually live in the house I grew up in. Got a 3-year-old little boy, 5-month-old little girl, and awesome wife that allows me to be in the woods as much as I can and travel around a good bit, too, waterfowl hunting. And I went to school at Auburn for wildlife ecology and management, and actually spent a little too much time in school. I was too busy in the woods rather than being in class. But I figured I was learning as much as I could in the woods at our farm. And so once I got out of school, I basically took our largest property. It's about 900 acres. And spent about 2 or 3 years just developing it and really putting a lot of time and effort into a lot of dozer work, clearing, making fields bigger. We also have gotten the timber right as far as diversity, and spent a lot of time doing that and figuring out ways to help other landowners do the same thing. And that's what I do now. That was probably 8 or 9 years ago, and kind of grown my business and do a lot of, we do anything and everything from prescribed burning, land clearing, planting food plots, anything to do with enhancing properties for wildlife or aesthetics in general. So that's kind of my background.
Well, I hear good things about you, but
thank you.
When I look at this picture,
and he's green. We call this Gamekeeper.
Yeah,
green
I'm a little
jealousy
green here.
right
I'm
here.
looking at this deer has. Let's start off. What did this deer weigh?
He weighed, so I actually didn't have a scale. I brought him back to my house instead of taking him to the hunting camp.
I would have
and,
to.
After we caped him out and everything, I took him back to the hunting camp, and he weighed 205 caped out. Is actually what he did.
Oh,
So field dressed and caped, he weighed 205.
But not field dressed,
Okay.
just caped.
Just caped,
We
gotcha.
hadn't that was pre-gutting, so then I gutted him after that.
That's what we're after, 200-pound whitetails. That's right.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Okay, so please start at the very beginning. We want to hear this story.
All right, so I'll start. Usually I try to get cameras out. Sometimes I run cameras all year long, but most of the time I don't run them until August. This year I was a little late September. We just had a little girl in July, so
Congrats.
second child. Thank you. So we were
Good
busy. I was busy with that, and just didn't have time to get in the woods. We were busy with work too, and this property, we've got it. Like I said, we've got it designed pretty well. And the only thing we do in the summer, we may go in and spray some perennial clover fields, and maybe bush hog main roads, later in the summer, whatnot, once turkeys get off nested. But I've learned just stay out of there is the best thing to do. Just let turkeys and deer do their thing. They got the right habitat and everything. So it was September. I forgot the exact date. I know I flew up to Canada the 20th. So I guess it would have been the 18th, 19th, 18th. My little boy and I went and put first cameras out. This was the first camera we put out. It's actually where the steer showed up for the first time, and we put cameras up there. And we've got 7 other properties we own throughout the area, and we put cameras up there. And then I actually put a camera here at my house. Got 40 acres here, and just trying to see what inventory we had this year. We knew what we had last year and everything. And that first night, I had the cameras out. Had a real nice. He's still there, 140-inch 10 that has extra G2. And my brother-in-law and I were fired up about it, but we were like, God, he's young. He's probably 3 or so. We didn't have pictures of him last year that I know of. So we're fired up about that deer. And Saturday rolled around, and I was about to fly to Canada the next day to waterfowl hunt. So I was busy getting equipment back to the barn and everything, and from different properties. I was going to be gone for a week. And anyways, while I was doing that, I was during the middle of the day, having new deer show up on different cameras on different properties. And actually, there's a 145-inch 10 point at my house. Just a lot of really good deer on camera those 2 days of having cameras on. My brother-in-law and I are just fired up. We're like, oh man, this is going to be a good year. Had a real nice deer that grew from he was mainframe 11. Now he's in mainframe 12, almost 13. And, we're actually now going to let him go another year, but try to let him go another year. But anyways, we had all these nice deer on camera. So I fly up to Canada on that Sunday, get there, and got a lot of buddies there that I travel and duck waterfowl hunt with that are from Midwest, Missouri, Iowa, and they know big deer. And I was showing them all the nice deer we had on camera, and look at these, and they're like, God, those are some good deer even for us, I was like, yeah, I'm fired up, and we're about to go out scouting that afternoon. Season was coming in the next day, or 2 days later, but we were scouting that afternoon, and I said, let me check my cameras real fast. And I popped it up, and it was, mid-afternoon, and this buck was on camera. And they said they'll never forget this look on my face. I mean, I just about fell out. And I was like, what in the world? So I called my brother-in-law right then, and I said, hey, go check Sniper Lane camera. And he's like, oh, is there another good deer on camera? I go, Hoke, my brother-in-law's Hoke. I said, Hoke, it is a giant. It blows everything we have on camera right now out of the water. And he was leaving a dove hunt, and he said he had to pull over on the side of the road just because he couldn't believe it. And so then we told a couple of our close friends. We didn't want the word to get out, really.
No.
Deer wasn't that far off the highway. I mean, we already have an issue with people on that property knowing that there's a lot of turkeys around and people cruising the road right there. So we're trying to keep it quiet, and so we're trying to figure him out the next couple of weeks. I got back home and moved some cameras around and just trying to get him pattern figured out. And about a week before the season came in, my neighbor, he uses my road right there near where this buck, we had this buck on camera. He was needing to use the road to cut his hay, have some guys cut his hayfield. And I was like, God, I don't really want it. I mean, it was 4 days before the season came in, and we had him kind of figured out. And I was like, I don't want him to do that, but I don't want him to know that I know about this deer. I don't know if he knows about it. It's one of those things. And we said, all right, we'll let him go through. So they went and cut hay. Well, after that, between that, the acreage started to drop. His patterns, completely changed right then, of course. And so opening afternoon, I was going to go after him regardless. But that morning, I hunted at my house and had this 145-inch 10-point that was still in velvet. Had him at 50 yards and never got any closer, never gave me a good shot. And so that afternoon I went to the farm and hunted this deer, didn't see him, and he could sense pressure, no doubt, because, I mean, he was nocturnal coming in every night. But then when I'd hunt him, he wouldn't be there at all that next night, So we're trying to figure out a way I'd get in and get out. And me, my Hoke, and my buddy Foster were really just trying to figure this deer out. And so the next morning or the next day, that afternoon, the opening afternoon, the 10-point in velvet still showed up. My brother-in-law was like, Hunter, why don't you go shoot that 10-point? Like, that's a once-in-a-lifetime deer in Alabama anyways, a velvet, 10-point like that. I was like, yeah, but what about that big deer, And he was like, let's figure him out before. I was like, you're right. So that second afternoon of the season, I went and shot the deer at my house, and that was just real special. I hadn't killed a deer here at my house in probably 15 years.
Yeah.
So that was pretty cool. So then I stuck all my concentration on this buck, moving cameras around, trying to get him figured out. We had him we had a few different setups for him. And, really it was cat and mouse. I mean, just typical, I wouldn't be there. I'd be doing something else and he'd show up. And then I went back up to, Canada on another waterfowl trip. And when I was up there, he showed up daylighted twice during that weekend. We had him patterned. He would be there in the morning. If he was there in the morning and, left, we walked in front of the camera right before daylight, he was going to be there that afternoon. And so I thought I had him figured out, came back home, and, of course, he didn't do what he was supposed to do. And when I got back at one of my other neighbors, he texted me and sent me a picture of this deer. Said, hey, do you have this deer on camera? And he's got 40 acres. He's from Florida. He's got 40 acres right next to me. And I was like, yes, sir, I do. I've been hunting him. He's like, yeah, he's a giant. I was like, yeah. And I didn't say anything about, like, let's keep this, quiet. Let's, I should have. I was actually flying back. And I get back and I'm planting some fields. And I get a call one day from a buddy of mine that I hadn't told about this deer. And he goes, hey, what's the deal about this big deer I hear roaming around your property, around your post oak property? And I was like, how'd you find this out? And it clicked with me. I knew. He goes, Hunter, I know you know about this deer. If there's a big deer around, supposedly he's 200 inches. I said, yeah, I do. I know about him. I've been hunting him, and so we just kept it quiet. He goes, well, everybody knows about it now. And then the whole rumors of it maybe escaping a fence. There's a few high fences around there kind of popped up. But the whole background with that story was that it was in the fence all summer, and the first hurricane hit, and that's when it escaped. They had some damage and the deer escaped, which didn't make sense timeline wise because I had this deer on camera before that hurricane came in September, so I kind of nixed that. But at the same time, I mean, one of my best friends, he manages a high fence down there, not too far, about 15 miles down the road. We knew this deer was some sort of, we knew it wasn't full Alabama genetic deer. I mean, it obviously had some northern genetics, something else, because one, he shed his velvet with the younger bucks early on. I mean, he shed his velvet early. Two, I mean, just to have all this craziness, just non-typical going on. I mean, we've had some really good deer over the past couple of years on camera, and we've killed some great ones over the years on our properties, but nothing, like this by any means. So we knew there was something, but what we really thought was that one of these does had gotten out of a breeding facility or out of a fence, one of these breeder does, and got out and been out for a while, because we've seen them before with tags in their ears roaming around, throughout the community. And we figured it just matched with the right buck and threw this giant, because honestly, I didn't have pictures of a deer last year that could have been like the, could have gotten to this potential. But 2 years ago, I did. I had one. He had the similar frame to this deer and everything, but he just didn't have any junk going on yet.
Hey guys, listen up. Let me tell you about an awesome deal Springfield Armory is offering now through the end of 2024. When you purchase a brand new model 2020 Waypoint or Redline rifle, you'll receive a model 2020 rimfire rifle with a black synthetic stock absolutely free. That's an over $400 value on the house. You know we love Springfield Armory and their top-notch products you'd be proud to hand down to your kids and grandkids. So why wait? Learn more about this incredible offer at GearUp2024.com. Springfield Armory. Defend your legacy.
See these people? When the clock strikes 5, it's not the end. It's just the beginning. They have to do these things. They have to do those things. Enter the all-new LS Tractor MT2 and MT2E, a relentless force of innovation, redesigned with a new hood and cab built for comfort and visibility, with enhanced lifting capacity to get the job done, making these people the ones everyone else calls those people. Visit your local LS Tractor dealer today.
Take a deep breath. This story is getting
Yeah,
good.
that was good so far.
Really good.
Yeah. So I'm trying to think about your mental state at this point in time. When you're getting these pictures and you're not wanting to talk about it, it's got to be tough because you probably want to tell somebody.
Definitely.
What are you thinking the deer would score prior to laying your hands on him? What are you guessing him at?
I was guessing him around 210 is what I was thinking, looking at him. And then, like I said, my buddy Foster, he knows deer. I mean, he's kind of like the deer specialist. My buddy is a deer specialist. When I have a question, about something I don't know about, especially genetics and stuff like that, he knows it.
So were you able to sleep at night? Was this thing just driving you crazy?
You can ask my wife. It was when he wouldn't show up, I'd wake up. If he wasn't on camera by the time I went to bed at night, if he hadn't passed by one of the cameras and come, into one of our feeding sites, then I'd wake up 2 or 3 times a night till he was on there. And there was a couple of spans. There was 2 or 3 days. If I went in there and pressured him, he wouldn't be in there for 2 or 3 days.
Well, he was acting wild.
Yes, he was. And another thing is they said, oh, this deer was in a fence, then he should be used to human activity. Oh, no way, shape, or form. If we went in and checked cameras or went out and put more feed out or anything like that, he wouldn't be on camera for a while. You'd think, oh, they heard the ranger coming in there and here he comes, kind of trained. No way, shape, or form. I even put out stuff that they were feeding in that high fence and he didn't touch it. That's when I was like, that's kind of weird. He's not acting like he came out of that fence. And the fence that I'm talking about is 3.5 miles away. The closest point to that fence is the closest part of our 900 acres, 3.5 miles away. That's how far. So
did you ever talk to that landowner? And was there any discussion with him?
My buddy Foster did. he actually did after I killed the deer. That's kind of how we kind of got the idea of, what we found out after I killed the deer, is that he had a few ideas about it. The breeder that supposedly sold this deer's father to that fence is right down the road as well. So I know them well. So that's kind of who we've been communicating with to try to figure this whole thing out, because I want to be as open as I can about it. I don't want to act like I killed some he was free range. That's what the game warden said and everything. Hunter, that's a free range deer as far as we look at it, the state looks at it. But I don't want to act like I grew, granted, there's a reason this deer was right there on my property, instead of going north, south, or he came south, north, east, west, 3.5 miles. He stuck around there and didn't want to go back really to where he had been. And, I was kind of thinking, I'd done the right stuff to keep this deer like this around for that amount of time.
Yeah.
That went on a few weeks, and then I started planting food plots, and we honestly put off planting our annuals on this property because I just didn't want to go in and mess anything up. And I was planting for other people, and he'd show up on camera. I'd be 10 minutes down the road and didn't go hunting that afternoon, should have, type deal. And finally I said, you know what, I'm going to hunt him every afternoon. Whatever camera he saw last that, night before, morning before, that's the stand I'm going to the next day. It's kind of what I did. And, had a bunch of does out in front of me, and all of a sudden they looked up and they took off running. And when they took off running, I saw him coming, and he actually stood over the pine tree in between me and him for about 10 minutes.
Oh.
And all I could see was both sides of his antlers. And I drew back on him 3 times before the 4th time I drew back on him, and a doe blew at me downwind, and I drew back on him and stuck him. And God, talk about feeling. My wife, when I called her after I shot it, didn't know what it had. She thought I'd fallen out of a tree or something. I was acting. It was just.
Did you see him fall?
Yes. Yes, I saw him fall. He didn't go very far at all.
Nice.
So that was a good relief, great feeling right there. And, we were able to pull the truck up. I had all my cousins and buddies. Actually, my brother-in-law that's helped me so much with this deer. It's kind of funny. Him and my sister were out of town those couple of days, and he told me before he left, he was like, I know you're going to kill this deer when I'm gone. Because last year he killed a 165 on one of his leases, and I wasn't in town to, be a part of it. And that's the biggest thing. We just like being a part of each other's kills,
100%.
Being there for it, celebrating. And he'd already said, when you kill this deer, we're throwing a party we're next door neighbors, so we're throwing a party at our houses and everything. We hadn't done that yet because he wasn't there to celebrate then, but no, it was a great feeling.
We got to throw a party now, yeah.
Yeah. Well, so
Yes,
were you letting your brother-in-law hunt this deer?
Yeah, that's the exact question I was going to ask. No.
You've got to know my brother-in-law. He and I are best friends. He and I were friends before my sister and him started dating, actually. And he's a real estate agent, sells recreational hunting land and everything. But he also went to school and graduated wildlife ecology management with me. So he helps me out a lot on the farm and everything. We do a lot together. He's a big dove guy. That's his thing. But over the past 3 years, he's killed in Alabama 3 over 150, 160.
Sounds like y'all are.
50s, and
kind of like a
he has
fine
some good
spot.
luck.
Do you remember that we played part of it here? We talked to Hunter. What's the movie that you made, Hunter? Is it Smoke in the Pines or Fire in the Pines?
Into the Pines. Yes.
Yeah,
The lacrosse video.
He's promoting burning. It's
Yes,
really,
I do
really
remember
good,
that. That was excellent.
YouTube show about burning.
We love some fire, that's for sure.
Well, it sounds like you guys are doing everything right.
Yeah.
You're growing these big deer. A lot of these southern states, 200-inch deer have been killed.
Yes.
If you've killed 4 or 5 200-plus inch deer, I'd probably be a little more suspicious. I just think this is great.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So, Hunter, what do you think? Personally, you know more about this deer, I would think, than anybody.
The most recent information we got, I shot the deer, and a lot of speculation. People, I had some people contact me wanting to do podcasts, whatever. That's not what I'm. That's what I told them. I said I'm not looking to do. I just enjoyed it. I'm glad that I got the deer. I'm glad I've got my hands on him because it was months of trying to figure this deer out. And
anxiety.
And yes. So, and I said, before I do anything, I want to figure out what the deer is, because there's a lot of suspicion. I mean, people are thinking I killed it in a high fence, because there's actually our overall farm's called High Ridge, but then we have different properties. But there's also a High Ridge high fence down the road that's in the same area. And anyways, that people thinking I killed it in a fence, and so I was wanting to really figure out and just kind of kill all the suspicion, and everything, and figure out what the deal was. So my buddy Foster had a mutual friend with the guy that had the high fence that supposedly came out of. And at first he said, it might have got out last, I think it was July. Then it went back to March. And then it got out last November when when a tree fell or something happened. And so that's kind of the story that we had. The deer has been out of the fence for at least a year, is what he's saying. Now the breeder buck that was sold to him and bred with a native Alabama doe in his fence, it has some similar characteristics to this deer, but I mean, but he still has a lot of junk going on everywhere, a lot more than this. I mean, 20, 30 points, going on. So it's still hard for me to say. I mean, I feel pretty good that, all right, he came out of that fence. We know he has something to do with the fence.
Yeah.
So I hadn't seen a picture of this deer in the fence last, October. That's really what I wish I could get my hands on. It's probably something I'm going to work on.
Hey, look, I'm not trying to take away at all. I don't care where it came from. It's an amazing animal for sure. And I can personally attest to watching Alabama deer jump over the high fence and beak in and back out, especially does. So, I mean, if you think about a doe she got bred, it jumped out,
Can happen.
It can happen. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. So, but not taking away anything from the deer, because it was on your place and you had to get it done, and you did.
It was acting wild. Y'all both played the game and you won it. I wouldn't.
Well, and I can attest too. Some fence deer are wild as can be.
Oh, wilder.
Wilder, I would say.
Look, Hunter, I got some questions. I want to try to learn a little something from this. But my first question, this really isn't anything I can learn, but did you name the deer? I always love hearing names.
All right, so I used to be big on naming deer, and then I kind of got out of it. We quit naming deer. Past couple of years, we just kind of call them whatever. And then one of my cousins, he hunts down the road from me. He's a distant cousin of mine, but we're real close. He's like my little brother. He was like, "You have a name for that deer?" And I was like, "No, I hadn't named it yet. I'm just weirdo. I feel like I've ran out of names over the years." And he said, Donkey Kong. And I said, all right. So that's Donkey Kong.
I like it. I like it.
All right. So
now I have a 3-year-old that names deer after Paw Patrol characters and stuff like that. He's naming deer. But I'll have some good names over the years.
That's fun.
Yeah.
That's one of the funnest parts, letting your kids name them.
All right. So I got a few questions. I want to try to learn a little something here. Can you explain how you went about trying to pattern him?
Really what we did, we could tell he was kind of concentrated on this SMZ, our creek, really, but at that time it wasn't much of a creek, as dry as we are, and it's where our old duck pond is and everything. And we just, I think at one time on that line, and I'd say about 200 acres, I had a dozen trail cameras, cell cameras right there. We'd have some within 40 yards of each other, just trying to figure out where, which way he's coming and everything. And that was the biggest thing. This year with the drought and the browse, it's just, died quick. I feel like it's happened over the past 3 or 4 years. These deer have really got honed in on, corn, feed, everything like that, coming to feeders, because the browse with the drought and then just hitting the browse, it's just gone downhill real fast, after the summer into the fall. And so that's kind of what we did, is just put cameras. He was really working this creek line, and that's kind of where we honed it. We had a few pictures of him way back in the back of our property, a mile back or so, but mainly right there is where he kind of kept it. I'd say he was on 150 acres, including my neighbors.
Did you worry about moving trail cams if that might spook him?
Not too much. We went in, we go in and I'd do everything one day, and then I'd wait a few weeks and go in and change things up. But we didn't change whenever I went and changed things up, it was changing a lot up at one time, and we would wait just because, like I said, we hadn't been in there in a while. And actually, my neighbor, once I killed him, we talked about the hayfield thing and everything. I said, he said he'd been hunting the deer. He had watched him all summer grow. He's a retired individual, and he's retired, and he lives up there and lives on his. He's got about 200 acres next to me, and he lives right there. And he said, he showed me videos of the deer right there when he started to grow. He's 7-8 inches off his head. He showed me videos of him on the tractor with, videoing it. And he's like, as much time as he spends out there, really weren't that affected. He wasn't affected that much. I said, well, when you cut that hayfield, something changed with him. His pattern changed. I don't know if it was that or the acorns started dropping then or what. But,
Yeah.
So,
was he hanging around other bucks?
we thought at first he was running with this other deer we've had watched for a few years. He's got a few main beams. He's an old deer. I mean, he's got to be 8 years old or so, and he's gone downhill, but he's just kind of got all kinds of stuff going on. And he seemed like he was running with him the first couple of days we got him on camera, but then after that, not at all. He would be in there, and a lot of bucks didn't want to be around him because I've got video. I mean, we turn the cameras on video mode, and he'd throw his head towards them, and they just freak out. So he never had any companions, really, I'd say.
Hey, Lanny.
Hey, Bobby.
Have you ever wondered if your feeder went off or if it's even got corn in it?
Yeah, you sit there at night wondering about it.
Moultrie has solved this. This is some high-tech stuff.
Fits on any feeder that helps monitor the level of feed and lets you know if it went off or not. And you can remotely control it.
Can I look at your feeder if we're on the hub?
I really hope not, but we're going to have to talk to the guys at Moultrie about that. This is the biggest thing in feeders since corn.
That's saying a lot.
With Feed Hub, there's no more stressing, no more guessing. This technology allows you to remotely monitor your feeders.
We always say feed safely, do it the right way.
No doubt about it.
To learn more about it, visit moultrieproducts.com/feedhub. It's a great invention.
Unbelievable technology and products brought to us by our buddies at Moultrie. Nosler is known for their bullets, and now they're making suppressors. Nosler suppressors are made for hunting. Adding a Nosler suppressor to your rifle will make you a quieter, more accurate, and more effective hunter. Protect your hearing and disturb less game with a Nosler suppressor. The time to hunt quiet is now. Learn more at nosler.com.
It's interesting how they all have those older bucks are like that.
Yeah,
though,
well, probably all the
more often
younger
than
bucks
not.
were jealous.
Yeah. So, Hunter, help me understand this. No names. I just want to understand. If in Alabama, if a guy's got a high fence and a tree falls across it and the deer gets out, is he obligated to let the state of Alabama know, hey, I think I lost a deer or two, or what goes on there?
As far as I know, there isn't. And that's one thing I thought that he might be worried he's going to get in trouble is why we weren't getting much information. And I talked to my game warden, one of the local game wardens. We had called him the night I killed the deer because my buddy's like, you got to call him and just make sure we can cape him out and do whatever. Because if this is a potential state record, you don't want to, do they have to look at it whole, whatever. And so we called him. It was 10 o'clock at night. And thank you, Vance, for picking up because he answered a lot of questions for us. And we asked him, he said, no, leave it whole. I sent him a picture of it. He said, no, you can cape it, you can, skin him, take him to processor, whatever you want to do with him. Just, keep his antlers, just take as many pictures as you can. And I told him, I said, it may have got on a fence. He goes, well, that happens. Things happen. The state has, to answer your question, there's no regulations in the state of Alabama. They have to be notified. Now, I know breeding facilities, if they're transporting deer from a breeder to another fence at all, they have to be tagged. But once they get in another fence, they can take them out and, take the tag out of their ear. Granted, usually you see a hole, for years to come in that deer's ear. And that's one thing, this deer had no rip, hole, any kind of indication of a tag in his ear. That's the first thing I looked for when I got up to him is, had he had a tag, and there was no indication of it at all.
I still want to believe he's the real deal.
Of course, I'm with you too.
It could be. No tag. His antlers didn't look. A lot of these breeder deer, their antlers appear swollen in places,
round at the end,
blunt tips, and I don't know. He just looks like 100% wild freak deer to me.
Yeah,
I mean, there's deer killed in the 60s that look like that. Really rare.
Michael Jordan's. That's right.
Yeah.
So did you age him? Did you pull the jawbone?
So we pulled the jawbone. I mean, we looked at it. And we figured he was 4.5, 5. Right in there. I actually have it sent off to NDA for them that they have this new thing where they can cut the incisors and and I'm waiting for that.
Love to know
or
what
I'm
that
about
is.
to send it off actually. Yeah. So that I'm very curious to see how old he is because then we can go back and be like, all right, if your breeder buck that you had in your fence, if he bred your doe and supposedly this deer's supposed to be 3, well actually he's 4 or 5, or we can get some more information about that.
Or maybe you can get him to let him out every now and then. We'll see what happens.
I mean, another thing, a lot of these freak deer aren't always really old. There was that local younger guy a couple years ago killed that 170 plus that was a 3-year-old. It was like a 180.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%.
Yeah.
It seems like our just run-of-the-mill deer have to be 6 or 7, but every now and then a 3 or 4-year-old pop up that's just amazing around.
Hunter, he's a gorgeous deer. What did what did y'all think he ended up scoring? What did Foster score him at? Did you say 207?
Well, Buddy Foster, he scored him at 207. Like I've said, he's used to seeing these non-typical scoring deer in that are harvested in their fence and stuff that, I mean, are even 230, 240. And his fence is 10 miles, away. But they have some giants in there, and he's used to scoring them. We looked at the numbers a few times, did it a few times, and 207 and some change is what he's going to be. And wait until he, dries out, and then the state can do it because the state still wants it. They said, he could be entered in the books regardless of how it looks. As far as they see, the way they're looking at it, it is a free-range white-tailed deer.
Yeah,
he was,
it is a free-range
not in the
white-tailed
fence.
deer.
And,
yeah, 100%.
I had him at 208.
I think I was 209 myself.
He's just a gorgeous deer.
He is.
Well, congratulations.
Congratulations.
I mean, regardless, it's a great story.
So do you think you'll put him in the book?
I don't know. I'm still going to talk to him, but I do want to get him scored by somebody officially scored. Just see what he nets and grosses and nets. And I'm just real curious. I hope he doesn't. I'm really happy with these. Broke that 200-inch mark. I hope it's not like, well, he's really 199 and a half. Gotta be. But
did you consider life-size mountain?
So I have, but I started thinking about it more. I'm actually going to get 3 replicas done of him. I'm going to get one to put at my house, one to put at our hunting camp, and then one to put at our party barn that's on that big tract of property where I killed him. Our hunting camp isn't actually on our biggest property, our big property. So I kind of want I'd rather put the money towards doing
multiples.
Replicas and also
you parlayed it into 3.
I like it.
Yeah. I like that idea.
I do too.
Yeah. Hunter, it's been really interesting. We've enjoyed having you. I've followed you along for a few years. The film you did was incredible. We like the way you think, and we certainly appreciate you wearing. Every time I see you, you're in
100%, and doing what you do for a living.
100%. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I love the Bottomland. The show actually follow around with and travel and hunt with, waterfowl hunt with. We just got picked up by Drake, so I'm glad Bottomland's in our.
All right.
We're wearing it now on camera. Everybody's like, Hunter's more fired up about that than anybody. I'm like, yes, thank goodness we got to that stuff.
Well, congrats on that.
We're with. So we're so that's nice. But yeah, no, I love. Like I said, I took everything in college that I learned there from y'all, reading Gamekeeper magazine and stuff, and kind of applied it to my property, and that's kind of this property I killed this buck on, kind of my showcase property. I mean, usually we focus on most of my stuff. We focus on turkeys. I mean, that's my kind of management I focus on, and deer kind of follows. But
well, Bobby can help you with that turkey management.
We need to go down there and do a turkey show with him, Richie. That's what we need to do.
He's going to show up. Look out!
Come on.
Well, look, it's an incredible story.
Yeah, and great deer. Congratulations.
You're working hard on your properties, and that's what
I mean, like all the other deer he's talking about are awesome too. I'd love to spend more time and learn about what you're doing from a timber stand improvement perspective and everything else going down there. That's for sure.
Yeah, y'all are more than welcome to come down anytime. I mean, turkey hunt, we always love having new people come chase turkeys with us.
There goes Bobby. He's going to be down there. You're going to have to run him off next.
Well, I've enjoyed. Has anybody got any other questions?
No, I do have one quick question.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of my question I ask all the guys that are
Oh.
into deer
Oh,
hunting.
yeah, here we go.
We just
Here
have
we
to
go.
know, how do you think that a moon phase affects deer movement?
Yes, I do. I
All right.
do, sir, to a certain extent. Yes.
All right. One tally. Yes.
Yeah. Well, he asked that question a lot, Hunter. And we get. Did you notice that Mississippi State Deer Lab did a post yesterday about a survey, and you need to go look at that because they just republished it.
They about the movement in moon phase.
And it showed like 12 different phases of the moon, and then it showed a graph of buck movement in association to the moon.
Movement.
You should go look at that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I will.
I think Bronson probably posted it with you in mind.
Probably. Did he tag Chase Hunt in it?
Oh my goodness! All right, guys. Well, this
I'm
has
just
been
trying
fun.
to figure out what
Lanny
I think,
just
you know.
revealed his secret Instagram page.
Oh,
Yeah.
no.
Chase Hunt at Chase Hunt.
What? No, that's not
You
it.
said it.
You did say
I did
it.
say
so-
it.
Yeah, you did get busted out there.
Oh,
Yeah. All right, Hunter. We appreciate you. We really do. And
Yes,
we're
sir. Thank
very
y'all.
impressed.
Yeah. Congratulations on a great deer.
Thank you. I
And it sounds
appreciate it.
like y'all having a lot of success with your gamekeeping and wildlife management down there. So
Excellent.
165-inch deer. I mean, come on. I know it's
no.
a 207.
Look,
but I
I'm
mean-
paying attention.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Anybody got anything else?
Hmm.
All right. If we don't, why don't you say goodbye, Dudley?
Goodbye, Dudley
Get us out of here, Richie.
and Jackson.
Thanks for tuning in to this week's episode of the Gamekeeper podcast. And be sure to tune in again. Subscribe to Gamekeeper Farming for Wildlife magazine and don't miss the Mossy Oak Properties Fistful of Dirt podcast with my good buddy, Ronnie Cuz Strickland.